Hello, friends. This is the epilogue for The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. While I was traveling in America over Christmas in 2007, I received some wonderful news. I've been offered a scholarship to the African Leadership Academy, or the ALA, an exciting new high school that was opening in Johannesburg, South Africa. Its students were chosen from across Africa's 53 countries with the goal to train the continent's next generation of leaders. Out of the 1,700 students who applied, only 106 were selected. Many were entrepreneurs and inventors like me who'd overcome hardships and were improving the lives of their families and neighbors. Others were simply the smartest kids in their countries, having scored the highest grades on their national exams. In August, I went home to pack my bags and say goodbye once again to my family. The next morning, I boarded a plane for Johannesburg and began the next chapter of my life. Even though I'd worked extremely hard at my school in Lilongwe, I was still behind in English and math. The classes at ALA were just as difficult as I imagined, and for the first year I struggled. During times when my confidence sank low, I would daydream about my village and its simple comforts. I was terribly homesick. But gradually I improved and my spirits lifted. I began to realize what an amazing place I'd found. The school campus was beautiful, with giant shade trees, lush green soccer fields, and peacocks that strutted across the lawn. But the best part of ALA was the many friends I met, people who, despite their young age, had already led extraordinary lives. There was Miranda Nathali from KwaZulu, South Africa. During a big teacher strike that closed down her school, she began teaching the students herself, leading courses in math, science, and geography so no one's education would be interrupted. My friend Paul Larim was a lost boy in Sudan who survived the country's civil war and lived without parents in a refugee camp. The same with my schoolmate, Joseph Munyambanza, who escaped fighting in Congo and lived in a camp in Uganda where he attended school in a tent. For the first time in my life, I was surrounded by people from a variety of backgrounds and cultures, and many of them speaking their own languages. I learned Swahili by chatting with my Kenyan roommate, Githoria, and my other friends from Kenya and Tanzania. My pals from Zimbabwe taught me Shona, and I even learned some Arabic from my Moroccan students. Along with taking classes in leadership and entrepreneurship, which I loved, we were also required to volunteer in our surrounding community. My classmates and I helped the local orphanage by tending their garden. The vegetables were used to feed the children and to sell in the markets so they could buy clothing and other items. I was particularly good at this project because, in addition to being an inventor, I was first a farmer. Graduation day was one I'll never forget. For the first time ever, my parents boarded an airplane and left Malawi. When they landed in Johannesburg, with its bright lights, commotion, and people speaking foreign languages, I didn't know if they would be happy or run terrified back to the plane. It helped that Jeffrey and Mr. Blessings came also to provide support and to share the adventure. After a while, they were all laughing and marveling at this modern African city. On graduation day, my father looked so proud. The minute he saw me in my cap and gown, his chest puffed out and a smile spread across his face. He called my mother over. "Look at our son. Despite all our troubles, the boy has done it." "Yes," she said. "William, today you're making your parents very happy." While all this was going on, I was also working on the book about my life. My friend Brian Mealer, a journalist who'd worked in Africa, came to live with me in my village for several months. He and Blessing spent their days interviewing me and my relatives, along with everyone in Wimbe who knew anything about me. At the end of each day, we sat down together and put all the stories to paper. Even after everything I'd been through, writing a book felt like an amazing accomplishment. The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind was first published in September 2009. To help spread my story, Brian and I embarked on our own adventure across America, one that included a dozen cities and 15 different airplane rides. We spoke at schools, lecture halls, bookstores, and even appeared on the radio and television. In every city, we visited, I was so encouraged by the large numbers of young people who showed up at our events. Most were around the age I was when I made my windmill, and some were even younger. The parents who brought them usually said something like, "The next time Billy complains about such and such, I'll tell him that William nearly starved." This made me laugh, but really the kids told me they enjoyed the book because it made science seem cool. It also made the world seem more interesting than anything they'd ever seen on television. I was really happy to hear such things. You know, if someone like me had ever visited Kachikulu when I was a student and talked about science and experiments, I would have never left them alone. Toward the end of my book tour, I was lucky enough to visit Dartmouth College in Hanover, New Hampshire. Already, I've been looking around at several colleges, trying to decide which one was the best for me. I liked them all, but Dartmouth impressed me the most. It was a member of the prestigious Ivy League colleges and situated alongside a river surrounded by groves of elm trees. In particular, at the Thayer School of Engineering, I was delighted to discover its tool library, where students could check out power tools and batteries as if they were books. Not only that, the machine shop was filled with all kinds of saws and welding kits that were needed to build just about anything. I couldn't wait to tell Jeffrey and Gilbert. In addition to science, I also wanted to learn about history and politics, study more languages like French or Mandarin, and perhaps even take courses in painting and acting. I was also encouraged by the number of Africans who attended the college. While touring the campus, I spoke Swahili with a couple of Kenyan engineering students who told me, "Come to Dartmouth, brother. Here you have a family." I'm happy that I took their advice because the next 4 years were some of the best of my life. I won't say college was easy. Like at ALA, the first year was so challenging that I often got discouraged. At times it was like climbing a sheer cliff straight up. But with the help of my advisors and tutors, and a lot of time spent studying and reading, my second year got a lot better. By the third year, I was the one helping other students. But not all of my time was spent in the classroom. At Dartmouth, they believe in learning through projects, and the engineering labs were the greatest places to tinker and experiment. My first year, some classmates and I built a refrigerator that didn't use electricity, but instead an intricate system of water pumps and vacuums. It worked, but never got as cold as we wanted, so I'm still playing around with it. Another of my favorite projects was a kind of vending machine for charging cell phones. Remember me describing the sidewalk stalls? The problem is that they take too much time, and most people are afraid of leaving their phones unattended. The machine we invented allows people to safely lock away devices while they're being charged. First, they insert a coin to get a key, which unlocks a personal phone-sized locker with its own power source. Plug in the phone, lock the cubby, and come back in a couple of hours. Best of all, the machine is powered by solar panels, allowing it to be used anywhere in the world. Now that it's 2014 and I've graduated from college, people are asking me what I plan to do with my life and where I'm going to live. Sure, it would be nice to stay in the States, find a good job in Silicon Valley or New York, and make a lot of money, but that's not me. While I really love the United States, both my heart and life's work belong to Africa. I'll spend another year at the design firm Aido in San Francisco pursuing an internship so I can learn more about business and design. And after that, I'm going home. I have a long list of projects I want to start in Malawi, and several are already underway. After my first appearance at TED, Tom and I started a nonprofit group called Moving Windmills Project to help fund local village improvements and to pay for tuition. Some of the money comes through donations, while the rest I earn by traveling the U.S. and speaking about my life. One of my main goals for Moving Windmills was to rebuild the schools in my area. As I mentioned earlier, the conditions at both Wimbe Primary and Kachikulu Secondary were terrible. We had no desks, books, or paper. We had no desks, books, or proper supplies. The schools were without electricity and clean water. The windows had no glass to keep out the cold, and the roofs leaked when it rained. Wimbe Primary was built in 1950 and intended for only about 400 students, although more than 1,400 attended when I was a boy. In Malawi, the government only funds certain school buildings, sending their money instead to pay teacher salaries and housing. So you can imagine how happy I was for Moving Windmills Project to team with an American organization called BuildOn.org to help rebuild Wimbe Primary. Based in Stamford, Connecticut, BuildOn.org has two parts. The first organizes American high school students to get involved in community service, such as cleaning up neighborhoods, volunteering at homes for the elderly, and soup kitchens, tutoring, and so forth. But it also works with communities to help build schools in poor countries across the world. Since 1992, the organization has constructed nearly 600 schools in Haiti, Nicaragua, Mali, Nepal, Senegal, and Malawi. We started work on Wimbe in 2010 during one of my school holidays. It was important to have the community involved so that everyone felt they shared in the ownership. Local men made all the bricks, and the rest of the building materials came from within Malawi. As of 2014, we've built 4 new school blocks with 2 classrooms each, enough space for over 200 more students, each with his own desk. And each building is powered with LED lights, solar panels, and deep cycle batteries, allowing kids and their parents to stay late and study into the night. Reading is also a lot more fun there. Thanks to the Pearson Foundation, we added 10,000 new books to the library where I first learned about science. Miss Sakalo now has so many books that she's sharing with other schools in the district. As for Kachikulu, people ask me if I'm bitter towards them for kicking me out, but I'm not. In fact, not long ago, I went back and solar powered the entire compound. We also installed computers connected to a cool program called e-Granary, which delivers the wonders of the internet in places without a network connection. They call it Internet in a Box, and it gives people free access to over 3,000 websites, 50,000 books, and more than 100 educational and computer software programs. We even hooked it up to a Wi-Fi network so that everyone in the region with a smartphone can use it 24/7, especially kids who may not be able to afford tuition. I've now sent most of my sisters to private school. Doris and Aisha are enrolled in college. Doris is studying to become a nurse, and Aisha is working toward a degree in rural development. The younger ones are busy learning English and teaching it to their friends. I also helped Gilbert start a small music and film studio in Kasungu. As for Jeffrey, he's still in Wimbe. His mother fell ill recently and requires his constant help around the house and farm. But this also means he can assist my father, who's busier now than ever. Thanks to my book sales, I founded a small business, a maize mill, in Chimama that my family now oversees. And since our farm is producing double the harvest these days, I had to buy 2 pickups to help carry our crops to market. I'm also trying to start a transportation business. So during my last year at Dartmouth, I ordered a minibus over the internet from Japan that now moves people up and down Malawi's main highway. My hope is to create the first shuttle service from Kamuzu International Airport in Lilongwe. Right now, we only have taxis and dusty minibuses where you're likely to share your seat with a farmer's goat and chickens. These minibuses are mainly a way to support my family, and they'll do most of the work because when I get home, I'll be focused on much bigger things. For one, I'm still dedicated to bringing water and electricity to the rural poor. Already, I have designs for easy-to-assemble drills for water wells, along with windmill and battery systems to provide electricity. Not only will they be affordable, but I want to make sure they can be repaired with simple everyday materials such as car parts so that villages can keep them running. I want to make these flagship projects. I hope to make these the flagship projects for an innovation hub I want to open in Lilongwe. It'll be a place where inventors and designers can share and develop ideas, consult with engineers and other professionals in the field, and receive funding. I modeled it after iHub in Nairobi, started by some other TED fellows. That's been focused on growing Kenya's high-tech community. And it's also been very successful. But instead of creating things like software and mobile apps, our hub will use do-it-yourself science and technology to bring Africans access to clean water, electricity, housing, and ways of earning money. The doors will be open to men and women of all ages, but my hope is to attract young students like myself who might have a great idea, but no one to share it with. By coming back home, I want to inspire the next generation of dreamers. Young people comprise over half the African population. So the future of the continent, the future of the continent hinges upon their energy and ideas and the support we give them. But my story isn't exclusively for them. To the kids elsewhere who are reading this book, whether in Chicago, London, or Beijing, or even in Marion, I want you to know that your ambitions are just as important and worth achieving, however big or small. Often people with the best ideas face the greatest challenges: their country at war, lack of money or education, or the support of those around them. But like me, they choose to stay focused because that dream, as far away as it seems, is the truest and most hopeful thing they have. Think of your dreams and ideas as tiny miracle machines inside you that no one can touch. The more faith you put into them, the bigger they get, until one day they'll rise up and take you with them. That's the end of the epilogue for The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind.